It's Rick with Rock Bottom Outreach, and it is Real Talk Tuesday. First off, I don't want to forget, we're cooking at American Eagle this Saturday. The proceeds will be divided between assisting a gentleman with an electric wheelchair that will fold up and is lightweight. So those aren't cheap. So we want to assist as we can. The other part will go toward Shannon Johnson and her family, her little girl that was a victim of the hit and run, and they did move her. I saw to a regular room, so God is good. So keep the prayers coming. But um, I was not in the military. I wanted to, but when you've had six knee surgeries on the same knee, you're a liability, and just doesn't happen. But man, I just have always been all. But I was an EMT, graduated from EMS school at University of Texas Arlington, and so I spent some time on the fire truck, obviously the firehouse, riding with it was MedStar at the time. I don't even know if MedStar still exists. I'm not sure, but anyway, so I experienced all that. And, one thing they did is what they call CISD, which is Critical Incident Stress Debriefing. And so it would be like after a call, maybe involving the child or something that, you sit around and you're talking about your feelings and your emotions and things like that. And that is critical because that can really have long-term effects on you. Now, let's go back to 2008. When I hit rock bottom, I was at UVH just for a couple of days because I didn't have any insurance. And there was a unit there for a lot of these guys that were returning from deployment. A lot of the guys that were working for Blackwater, private security and stuff like that were coming in. Folks, I'm going to tell you, PTSD is a real deal. And so regardless, does it have to be based just on the military or the service, or first responders? No, it could be anyone. I will tell you this, in wrestling, we're talking collegiate style, when a young kid comes in and the first time he gets choked, not choked out, but gets choked and he can't breathe, he will it'll scare him to death, to the point a lot of times they will not return because that was the experience. That is what they remember, getting choked and I couldn't breathe. It scared them to death. So here's one where I'm going to go deep. I'm not a licensed counselor, okay? I have the pastoral credentials, biblical studies degree, but that doesn't equip me, to have open an office and do grievance counseling, things like that. But I was watching while logging calls, the new 911 Texas, and watching a firefighter that had watched his whole battalion die. And it really has him messed up. PTSD. And so, his wife got him into counseling and just barely into it, like, I'm done. I don't want to go there. Here's my point. A lot of times, we have seen something or we have gone through something that has left an imprint in your mind. Okay? Suck it up, buttercup doesn't work all the time. Be a man doesn't work. Be a tough woman doesn't work. There comes a time we medicate because we don't want to feel those emotions when they surface and how we feel about ourselves or what is going on. The Father Effect ministry that John Finch runs, one thing he talks about in the documentary, he says the one thing I remember about that day is it was cloudy. Many things that I saw in '08 remain deep rooted. My point in saying this, I'm not the only one. I listen to Tyler Wood, what he's gone through. A lot of times, though God says, we're forgiven, we're a new creation, there's counseling available because a lot of times what we are still carrying affects us in our relationships with our children, which affects our children, affects our love relationships. You're afraid to love someone. You can't figure out why it never works out. Watching that show briefly last night just really got me thinking. If you are a counselor or you know of one, I'm going to tag some people that I know personally. Okay? Stephanie, Lisa Collins was Randy Collins' sister as a counselor. Brian Hackney is a counselor. The list goes on and on. So if you know of someone that you recommend, I want you to list them under this Real Talk today. Okay? So people can see it and tag them. Please. Sometimes to go forward, we have to deal with the ghost of the past. We'll be praying every step of the way because God can release those shackles and set you free.